Let's talk retro gaming. Alright, let's get into it. Have you ever walked past an old arcade cabinet and felt a wave of nostalgia? Maybe you remember dropping quarters into machines like Pac-Man, Donkey Kong, or Street Fighter 2. Those were the good old days of gaming. The sounds, the lights, the thrill of getting a high score. What if I told you that you could bring that entire experience right to your PC? Well, you can, and it's all thanks to a fantastic piece of software called MAME. This isn't some shady program, it's a project dedicated to preserving gaming history for future generations to enjoy. It's like a digital museum for arcade games. So, what does MAME stand for? It's an acronym for Multiple Arcade Machine Emulator. That sounds a bit technical, I know, but stick with me. An emulator is a program that lets your computer pretend to be another computer. In this case, MAME makes your powerful PC act like the simple hardware inside an old arcade machine. This allows it to run the original game code exactly as it was meant to be played. Think of it like this. Your PC is the actor, and MAME is the script that tells it how to perform the role of a classic arcade cabinet. It's an incredible piece of work, built by volunteers over many, many years. The main goal of MAME isn't just to let you play games, though that's a huge bonus. The primary mission is digital preservation. Arcade hardware from the 70s, 80s, and 90s is getting old. Circuit boards fail, monitors burn out, and cabinets fall apart. Without a project like MAME, thousands of games could be lost to time forever. The MAME development team meticulously documents the hardware and software of these classic machines. This ensures that even if every original arcade cabinet on Earth stopped working, the games themselves would live on. So when you use MAME, you're not just playing a game, you're experiencing a piece of history. Now let's talk about what this means for you, the gamer. It means you have access to a massive library of classic games. We're talking thousands of titles, from the most famous hits to the most obscure oddities you've never even heard of. You can relive your childhood favorites or discover new ones. You can finally beat that one boss that always stole your lunch money. And the best part? You don't need a pocket full of quarters to do it. You just need your trusty PC, a little bit of time to set things up, and this guide. So, let's dive in and turn your computer into the ultimate retro arcade machine. First things first, we need to get the MAME software. Now, this is super important. You should only, and I mean only, download MAME from its official source. The internet can be a wild place, and unofficial sites might bundle the software with viruses, malware, or other nasty stuff you definitely don't want on your gaming rig. We want to play games, not reinstall Windows. So, open up your web browser of choice. It could be Chrome, Firefox, Edge, whatever you use. In the search bar, type MAME official website or just go directly to mamedev.org. That's mamedev.org. Once you land on the official MAME development website, take a second to look around. You'll see news about the latest updates and information about the project. What we're looking for is the download section. It's usually very easy to find, often right at the top of the page in the main navigation menu. Click on that downloads link. This will take you to a page with the latest official release of the MAME software. The developers release new versions regularly, packed with improvements and support for even more games. Getting the latest version is almost always the best choice for a new setup like ours. On the downloads page, you'll see a few different options. You're looking for the main binary release for your operating system. Since we're setting this up on a PC, you'll want the Windows version. It will likely be labeled something like MAME 0.2 XXB binary 64-bit. The numbers will change depending on the latest version available. Just make sure you're grabbing the binary file, which is the ready-to-run program. You might see a source code download too, but that's for developers. We want the simple one. Click the download link, and a file, usually a zip or 7-zip file, will start downloading to your computer. While that's downloading, let's talk about what you're getting. This file contains the core MAME emulator. It's the engine that will power all our arcade adventures. It does not, however, come with any games. We'll get to that part, called ROMs, in a little bit. For now, the important thing is that we have the official, clean, and safe version of the emulator downloading directly from the people who make it. Once the download is finished, locate the file in your downloads folder. Don't double-click it just yet. We'll cover the next step, which is installation, in the very next section. You're doing great so far. Alright, you've got the MAME file downloaded. It's probably sitting in your downloads folder looking like a zipped up package. The installation process for MAME is actually more of an unpacking process. It's super easy. First, you need to decide where you want MAME to live on your computer. I highly recommend creating a dedicated folder for it. Don't just dump it on your desktop. Go to your C drive or another drive if you have one, and create a new folder. Let's call it something simple, like MAME. So, you'd have a folder path like C:\MAME. This keeps everything neat and tidy. Now go back to that file you downloaded. It's a compressed file, most likely a zip file. This means all the necessary files are bundled together to make the download smaller. We need to extract them. Your Windows computer has a built-in tool for this. Right-click on the downloaded MAME file. In the menu that pops up, you should see an option that says Extract All. Click on that. A new window will appear, asking you where you want to extract the files. This is where that folder we just created comes in handy. Click the Browse button and navigate to the C:\MAME folder you made. Once you've selected your C:\MAME folder as the destination, click the Extract button. Your computer will now start unzipping all the files and placing them into your new MAME directory. This might take a minute or two, depending on the speed of your computer. You'll see a progress bar as it copies everything over. What it's doing is creating the entire file structure that MAME needs to work properly. You'll see a bunch of new folders appear inside your MAME folder, with names like ROMs, Artwork, Snap, and CFG. Don't worry about what they all do just yet, we'll get there. When the extraction process is complete, the C:\MAME folder will open automatically. Inside you should see a whole bunch of files in those folders I just mentioned. The most important file in here is the one called MAME.x, or possibly MAME64.x. This is the heart of the whole operation. This is the executable file that launches the emulator. That's it. You've successfully installed MAME. See, I told you it was easy. No complicated installers, no clicking next a dozen times. You just made a home for it and unpacked its bags. Now let's move on to the exciting part, running it for the first time. You've downloaded MAME. You've installed it into its own special folder. Now it's time for the moment of truth. Let's run this thing. Navigate to the folder where you extracted MAME, which should be C:\MAME if you followed the last step. Inside this folder, look for the application file we talked about, MAME.exe or MAME64.x. It will have a little icon next to it, which might look like an old arcade joystick or the MAME logo. Go ahead and double-click that icon. Your screen might flicker for a second and then you'll be greeted with the MAME interface. It might not look super flashy, but this is Command Central. The first time you run MAME, it does a few things in the background. It checks all the files to make sure everything is okay. Then it will present you with its main screen. What you'll see is a list on the left side, probably showing all games. In the main window, you'll see a huge, and I mean huge, list of game titles. These are all the games that MAME is capable of emulating. Right now they will all be listed, but you can't play them yet because we haven't added the game files, the ROMs. Don't be alarmed if the list seems overwhelming. This is just MAME showing you its potential. Let's take a quick tour of this interface. On the left you have filters. You can see categories like available, unavailable, manufacturer, year, and so on. The available filter is the one we'll care about most later. Once we add some games, they will show up in this list. For now, it's likely empty. You can use your arrow keys on your keyboard to navigate up and down the massive game list. Pressing enter on a game won't do anything yet, except maybe show you an error message because the game files are missing. That's totally normal at this stage. For now, the only thing we need to do is make sure it runs. If you see the list of games and the categories on the left, you're golden. To exit MAME, you can simply press the SC key on your keyboard. This is your universal back or exit button in MAME, so remember it. Pressing ESC will close the program and return you to your desktop. Congratulations, you have a working MAME installation. The engine is ready and waiting. Now we just need to give it some fuel. And that fuel, in the world of emulation, is the game ROMs themselves. Let's get to it. Okay, this is the part everyone gets excited about. We have the MAME program, but a car without gas isn't going anywhere. For MAME, the gas is the game ROMs. A ROM file is basically a digital copy of the computer chips from an original arcade machine. These are the files that contain the actual game data. MAME needs these files to know how to run the game. Each game usually comes as a zip file. For example, you might have a file named pacman.zip. This single zip file contains all the necessary data for MAME to run the classic game Pac-Man. Here's the most important rule about adding ROMs to MAME. Do not unzip them. I repeat, do not extract the game ROM files. MAME is designed to read the games directly from their zip packages. So, that pacman.zip file should stay exactly as it is. This keeps everything organized, and is how the emulator expects to find the files. If you unzip them, MAME won't be able to find the game, and it will show up as missing or unavailable. This is the #1 mistake beginners make, so remember this golden rule: leave your game ROM zipped. So, where do you put these precious zip files? Well, remember when we installed MAME and it created a bunch of folders? One of those folders is your new best friend. It's called ROMs. Find your main MAME folder, usually at C:\MAME. Inside it, you'll see the ROMs folder. This is the magic location. You need to copy or move all of your game zip files directly into this ROMs folder. So, if you have downloaded galaga.zip, dakong.zip, and msf.zip, you would place all 3 of those zipped files right inside C:\MAME/ROMs. It's that simple. Once you have placed your ROM files into the ROMs folder, it's time to tell MAME that they are there. Launch MAME again by double-clicking MAME.x. When the program opens, it might automatically scan for new games. If it doesn't, don't worry. You can press the F5 key on your keyboard. This tells MAME to refresh its game list and audit all your files. It will scan the ROMs folder, identify the games you've added, and check if they are complete and correct. After the scan is done, click on the available filter on the left side of the screen. Voila! Your added game should now appear in this list, ready to be played. Now for a very important topic, where do you get these game ROMs? The legal side of emulation can be a bit murky, but we're going to stick to the straight and narrow. Sharing and downloading ROMs for most commercial arcade games is a violation of copyright. We absolutely do not condone piracy. However, the good news is that there are games you can get completely legally and for free. The MAME developers themselves actually provide a selection of games on their website where the original creators have given permission for free, non-commercial distribution. This is the best place to start. Head back over to the official MAME website, mamadev.org. Look for a section on the site that might be called ROMs or something similar. Here, you'll find a list of games that are legally available for download. These are often great games from smaller developers or titles that have been generously released into the public domain. Downloading these is 100% legal and a great way to test your new MAME setup without any legal worries. It's the perfect way to get your feet wet and make sure everything is working correctly before you explore other options for building your collection. Let's look at an example. One well-known game often available this way is a fun little shooter called Robbie Rotto. On the MAME site, you'll find a download link for its ROM file, probably named robbie.zip or something similar. You can download this file and place it directly into your C:\MAME/ROMs folder, just like we discussed in the last section. There are other titles available as well, so grab a few. This gives you some great starter games to play with. This is the safest and most respectable way to begin your MAME journey. Beyond the MAME website, some independent game developers who create new games for old hardware, a hobby known as homebrew, also release their games for free. Finding these might require a bit more searching on retro gaming forums and websites. Additionally, some companies have officially re-released their classic games on modern platforms like Steam, PlayStation, or Xbox. Buying these official collections is another fantastic way to legally play these games and support the original creators. For our purposes today though, sticking with the free legal ROMs from the MAME development site is the perfect start. Alright, you've got MAME running and you have a few legal games in your ROMs folder, it's time to play. But first, we need to talk about controls. By default, MAME is set up to use your keyboard. The arrow keys usually control movement, and keys like left Ctrl, left Alt, and spacebar are often mapped to the main action buttons. To put coins in the virtual machine, you typically press the 5 key. To select a one-player game, you press the 1 key. This basic setup works, but it's not always comfortable, and it's definitely not how these games were meant to be played. Let's customize these controls. This is one of MAME's most powerful features. First, launch a game from your available list. Once the game is running, press the Tab key on your keyboard. This will pause the game and bring up a special configuration menu right on top of the game screen. This menu is your gateway to customizing everything. You'll see several options. The one we want is Input Settings. Use your arrow keys to highlight it and press Enter. Inside this menu, you'll see more options, including Input, This Game, and Input, General. Input, General lets you set up default controls for all games. This is great for setting up your main joystick and buttons once. Input, This Game, lets you create a custom control scheme for just the specific game you are playing. This is useful for fighting games or games with weird control layouts. Let's start with general settings. Select Input, General and press Enter. Now select Player 1 controls. You'll see a list of all the possible arcade inputs: P1 up, P1 down, P1 button 1, P1 button 2, and so on. To change one, highlight it and press Enter. Now MAME will wait for you to press the key or button you want to use for that action. For example, highlight P1 up and press Enter. Then press the up arrow on your keyboard or push up on your connected USB joystick or gamepad. MAME will assign it. You can do this for every direction and every button. For button 1 you might assign the A button on your gamepad, for button 2 the B button, and so on. You can even assign multiple inputs to the same command. Once you're done, press the Tab key again to close the menu. Your new controls are saved and ready to go. It's that easy to create the perfect setup. Sometimes things just don't work the way you expect. Don't panic. Most MAME problems are very common and have simple solutions. The most frequent issue people run into is the files are missing error. You try to launch a game and MAME tells you that one or more files are required. This almost always means there's an issue with your ROM file. The most common cause is that you have an outdated version of the ROM for a newer version of MAME. The MAME team is always trying to make emulation more accurate, and sometimes that requires new or different files for a game. To fix the missing files issue, your best bet is to find an updated ROM set that matches your version of MAME. There are tools for this, like CLR MAME Pro, but they can be very complicated for beginners. A simpler solution is to search for a ROM set specifically labeled for your MAME version number, like MAME 0.269 ROMs. Another common reason for this error is that some games require a BIOS file. Think of a BIOS as the operating system for the arcade hardware. Games made by Neo Geo, for example, need a file called neogeo.zip to be in your ROMs folder. Make sure you have any required BIOS files. Another common problem is poor performance. The game might run slowly or the sound might be choppy. People assume that because these are old games, any modern PC can run them. But MAME is focused on accuracy, which can be very demanding. If a game is running slow, first try closing any other programs you have running in the background. If it's still slow, you can try some of MAME's built-in settings. Press the Tab key in-game and go to Video Options. You can try changing the video mode from D3D to BGFX or OpenGL to see if one works better with your graphics card. Finally, what if a game just shows a black screen or crashes MAME entirely? This can be frustrating. This could be due to a bad ROM file, a missing BIOS, or a bug in that specific game's emulation driver. The first step is always to try another game. If other games work, the problem is likely with that one specific game file. Try to find another source for that ROM. If all games are crashing, it could be a problem with your MAME installation or your PC's drivers. Re-extracting a fresh copy of MAME or updating your graphics card drivers can often solve these kinds of system-wide issues. You have successfully navigated the world of MAME setup. You've downloaded the emulator from a safe source, installed it correctly, and learned how to add games. You even know how to find legal ROMs to start your collection, and how to configure your controls for that perfect arcade feel. You've also armed yourself with some basic troubleshooting knowledge, so you're prepared if things go a little sideways. You have officially leveled up your PC. It is no longer just a tool for work or a platform for modern games. It is now a time machine, a portal back to the golden age of the arcade. Before you dive headfirst into hours of gameplay, let's just recap a few key points for the best experience. Remember to keep your game ROM zipped and in the ROMs folder. Use the tab menu in-game to configure your controls. It's worth the 5 minutes it takes to set up your favorite gamepad. If you notice performance issues, don't be afraid to experiment with the video options in that same tab menu, and most importantly, have fun with it. The whole point of this is to enjoy these classic pieces of interactive entertainment. The journey doesn't have to end here. MAME is an incredibly deep and powerful program. There are advanced features we haven't even touched on, like shaders that can replicate the look of an old CRT monitor, complete with scan lines. There are plugins for adding high-score leaderboards and artwork packs that display the original arcade cabinet bezels and marquees around the game screen. These can add another layer of immersion to your experience. As you get more comfortable with the basics, I encourage you to explore these options and see just how authentic you can make your virtual arcade. So go on, fire up MAME. Rediscover the simple, addictive fun of Donkey Kong. Challenge a friend to a match in Street Fighter 2. Try to set a new high score in Galaga, explore the thousands of games available and find some hidden gems you never got to play as a kid. You have built yourself a personal arcade, a monument to a pivotal era in gaming history. Thank you for following along with this guide. Now go play some games, you've earned it. And as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and maybe drop a build log in the forum.